If you own a small business and you might be looking to sell, you could run into some major issues. Forbes estimates that 9 out of 10 businesses listed never actually sell. Why? Because there's only one way to sell. You need to do these 4 steps first. So if you want to be a part of the 10% of businesses that sell for profits, we've created a free checklist for you so you can sell without those hurdles that normally hold you back. Download the free checklist by visiting www.abundantculture.co/checklist.
Welcome back to the Abundant Culture Podcast, where business owners like you come to learn how to grow the valuation of their companies so they can sell in the future. On this show, you'll learn how to sell for top dollar and invest in profitable businesses around the country. Now, here are your hosts, Jazz and Joe.
And welcome back to the Abundant Culture Podcast. This week, in honor of Valentine's Day, because I believe this episode is going out the following week from Valentine's Day, we just wanted to give a love episode, how Joe and I show and express our love in business with each other. So basically, this episode will be all about our partnership for marriage and business.
Absolutely. And we wanted to touch on a couple key points that we think are very important, because in our sphere of influence, a lot of times we're the only couple that we know of a lot of times that are actually in business together. There's a couple others, but not very many. Out of all the business people we know, there's only a handful of people that we've seen that are actually in business and work with their significant other or their spouse. And we get asked all the time, how does that work? Because from the outside looking in, there's a lot of people who honestly are like, wow, if I had to work with my spouse, I would probably kill myself, because a lot of people can't imagine.
Figuratively, not.
Yeah, figuratively.
Really.
I think you guys know I exaggerate a lot, honestly.
But a lot of people,
yeah.
They said they felt like that when the whole pandemic hit, because everybody had to work from home for at least the 3 months. If you went back to work, you were at home for at least 3 months.
Absolutely. So a lot of people never had any experience working with their spouse, and they feel like if they did work with their spouse, it probably wouldn't turn out so great. And then there's another class of people who want to work with their spouse but can't figure out how. So we wanted to just touch on a couple of things that we've experienced personally about, working together, and also why we think that some people should actually involve their spouse into their business. So touching on the first topic, why should you actually implement your spouse into your business? And I think not everybody should do this. I'm going to be very honest. It's not a great idea. I can think of a few people in mind right now that is like, I would vote against it if we weren't in business.
No, because, I would say, I agree, but a little, just in a different way. Yeah. In the way I agree with that is that not everyone's significant other, spouse or whatever, should be their sole business partner. However, your partner should be involved in your decisions, because you guys are a family unit and it needs to work cohesively. When Joe and I were first getting into business, we weren't married yet, but we started a business together when we were still dating, before we even got engaged. And I would be jealous of him. He was answering all the questions at the mastermind and asking all these questions. And I honestly started getting jealous of him. But then after we got married, we spoke at the panel on our church. And at that moment I realized, and I told the audience, we're one now. And I can't be jealous of my partner because we're working together. We have the same vision, the same mission. At least, if anything, we have the same values. And that's the most important part, because if you don't have the same or similar values to your spouse, then how is your family gonna work together in an efficient or effective, loving, very, very family-like Cosby family kind of way, before we learned all about the drama with Bill Cosby?
Yeah, so I think you said that perfectly, and I totally 100% agree with her. At first, I was kind of thinking of it as a business kind of partnership, but I think she's right about having your spouse, significant other somewhere in your business. They don't necessarily have to be a partner, but at the end of the day, like even though Jasmine, and we'll get into roles a little bit later, but even though Jasmine doesn't handle a lot of the sales calls or the negotiations that I do, I know if, I was sick in a hospital, that she could pick it up and do it well enough until I'm well enough to actually do it. And I think that's important. And going back to the idea of why you should have your partner somewhere in your business is because at the end of the day, if you're a business owner, that's someone that you are at the very core of your being. And if somebody can't love that part of you, I would wonder if the relationship would really be effective. Because if you're a business owner,
it's not just about money.
Yeah, it's not about just money, but I mean, if you're a business owner, odds are that's 50% of your life.
And like most business owners that we know, they feel like they found like their purpose in life and their calling.
Yeah.
So you probably feel the exact same way. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be listening to this podcast.
Absolutely. And I think in order to have a really effective marriage, that person has to respect, and they don't need to love your business the way that you do. I mean, that's totally fine because they may have a different calling, but I think there's a certain level of respect and maybe even admiration that that other person needs to have for your small business, your vision, and what you're trying to bring to the world. And if they don't, there's other people out there who honestly would love that about you. Like Jasmine loves the fact that I am a business owner. Does she love it 24/7, 365 days a year? Probably not, but 95% of the time she loves it, and I love that about her.
But in the beginning, I didn't, so don't get it twisted. I was so sick of hearing Tony Robbins when we were like driving in the car because I wanted to listen to music. I wasn't in like the business mindset yet that I'm in. I was less mature, honestly, and we still had similar values and vision, but I just wasn't on the same level that he was. It took me a little bit more time to level up to where he was at with his like business.
Yeah, and I think it's a growing process. It doesn't need to start out perfect, and it doesn't need to end perfect either, but I do think there needs to be some progression. Like if you're married, there's a good